Hello. Beautiful spring day, and many flowers are blooming. They're beautiful flowers. God made them. They're decorations. Beautiful decorations. God made a lot of things. Made everything. And it's important that you see that. I can't understand why people don't see that. But the good news is that if you really don't see it, remember I made a video not too long ago. I said there's two ways of looking at anything. You can look at it objectively without falling into it and getting lost in it and being pulled into it. You can sort of stand back and just gaze at it. And the other way is to get lost in it. It's like when, the example I always give, let's say there's a television in the room. There are two ways of looking at the television. One way is to be completely fixated in it and lost in it, oblivious to everything around you. If your child comes up with a question, you say, yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead. Lost in a television, see? But the other way is to be mentally standing back. And the television is on. Maybe you're looking at it, maybe you're not. But you're aware of everything around you. In other words, your peripheral vision is expanded instead of contracted. You're not focused on the television. It's there and you notice it. That's all. If there was something of value, you would hear what's of value, but undoubtedly there's not much of value, so it goes in one ear and out the other. You're very much aware of what's happening around you. Okay, so there's two different ways of doing that. Well, then there's another way of looking at things, and that is to see things. How can I say this? To see things in a way that you know where they came from, where the plants came from, where the flowers came from, where the sky and the clouds and where everything came from. And another way is to see things without seeing that. Now, the good news is that, well, when you were a little child, I suspect, when you were a little child, you secretly knew that God exists. And you heard about Jesus and good people. You read stories. There were good people in the stories. There were bad people also. You knew there was good and bad when you were a little child, didn't you? And the bad was scary. And the good you liked. And there were brave people, and then there were cowardly people. See, you knew that when you were a little child. And when you heard about God and about Jesus, you kind of liked it. And you sort of knew deep down that He exists, God exists. And you didn't give it a lot of thought, you just sort of knew. That's all. But then something went wrong as the years went by. Somehow you forgot what you once knew. You forgot what you once knew. You knew it. When you were a little child, let's go back over this, it's very important. When you were a little child, you knew that there was good and there was bad. Or let's say good and evil. You knew it. And you knew that good and evil are vying for the souls of people. In other words, you knew that, like in the cartoon, you know, where Daffy Duck is there, or Elmer Fudd, or some cartoon character. There's a little angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. And they're both saying completely opposite things. Okay? And you know that Elmer Fudd, or whoever the cartoon character is, should listen to the angel on one shoulder. He should listen to what's good. He should listen always do what's right. You knew that when you were a child. You knew it. Okay? And there were other things that you kind of suspected. You heard about God and about Jesus, noble people. And you just sort of knew that they exist. And you heard that God made everything, and you just sort of knew it. You didn't question it. You didn't think about it. It wasn't some big process of figuring anything out. It's just, you just sort of knew. Right? But then you forgot that stuff. You forgot it. You got somehow wrapped up in everything else. And we won't go over that. You know, we've talked about that so often in all my videos, in my books, in my radio program. But the point is, you did forget. Then when you were an adult, you hated people. Yeah, maybe when you were a kid too, you hated them. One of the ways in which you began to forget what you knew in your heart was because you hated. You hated. And that's because there were hateable people. But you know you're not supposed to hate. Okay? Of course, I'm here to tell you that you mustn't hate. You must let go of the hate. Let go of it. Okay? And I've talked about that a lot too. But the point is, you did hate. And I don't need to go down the list of the types of people you hated. It often started with your parents. Your mom resented your dad. Maybe your dad wasn't even there anymore. So you can hate somebody that's not there for abandoning you, for leaving. See? Or just hate fatherhood or fathers or dads for somehow failing you. If he was there, you could hate him for being weak or for being angry. See? Or for whatever reason. And then your mom. Well, there's a whole list of things about mom that you could hate. You were close to your mom. You came from your mom. Okay? You were bonded to your mom as a little child. But nevertheless, if she screamed at you, if she yelled at you, if she berated you, if she pressured you, if she abandoned you to some awful daycare where something bad happened, or some preschool where something bad happened, or to school where something bad happened, almost inevitably something bad happens, doesn't it? So you could hate her for that, and hate Dad for letting her do it, and for him not protecting you. See? So there are just so many different reasons. Then you fall away from what you know in your heart. So you kind of forget it. Then the other things you acquire: guilt, resentment for the hatred. But that's proof that there is good. See? See, one of the proofs for God that God exists and that God is good, not only that he exists, but that he is good, is that when you do something that's wrong, when you hate somebody or resent somebody, or you take advantage of someone, you use someone, see, or you betray someone, you feel it, don't you? You know in your heart you did wrong, and you feel bad. Well, what is that? That's your conscience, which is from God. It's intuition. It's the inner light from God. In the inner light, you see your own wrong. Of course, we don't want to see it, but you see it. So that proves two things. Number one, there is a light from God. See? Number two, that it cares about you and what you do, and it cares about what's right. And number three, it cares about the important things. God cares about the important things. If you spill a little milk on the floor, or you make a mark on your pants, or you forget to take the garbage out, or you accidentally drop a glass and break it, or anything like that. So what? But if you resent someone or phony with them, then you feel bad. So you see what God cares about. He cares about people. He cares about not resenting people. He cares about not being dishonest with people. See? So then, as an adult, then what happened? Well, you felt empty. See, the same place that when you were a little child, that from that same place where you just somehow knew that there's good and evil, and you somehow knew that there are good people and bad people, and you somehow knew deep down that God exists and that Jesus is good, you just sort of knew. From that same place, see, also comes everything else that's good. See, that's good knowledge, isn't it? It's good knowing. If you knew that and you never doubted it, now think about this. If you knew that God is good, that He's there and that He's good, that you must find Him, and He's like a good Father. If you knew that and didn't doubt it, can you see the security that you would have? The peace of mind you would have? See? But unfortunately, when you resent other people, then you fall away from that source. And then all the other good things that would come from there, the good understanding, then then self-motivation, and peace of mind, and true confidence, and courage, and all these things that would come from there. Creativity, insights, everything good, and protection, and sensing which way to go intuitively. All of these come from there, but when you resent other people, you fall away from it. When you've fallen away from it, then you sort of doubt. It's like it's kind of far away. See? So it's still there, but it's far away, and you don't feel close to it anymore. So the process by which you lost touch with what you knew in your heart, remember we said through resentment and so forth? But there's also kind of a mechanical process that goes along with that. Now one of them is that you fall into your imaginations. You fall away from reality. And you fall into the imagination, and there you hide there. You create an alternate reality. You can feel secure down there and comfortable, kind of safe from anxiety and so on. But the trouble is then it begins to overpower you, this imagination. And the imagination is powered by things that happen on the outside anyway, so you begin to feel out of control. But anyway, there's a falling into the imagination. Then there's also a falling into things. Remember I said about watching television, there's two ways of watching. One way is to be just objective and standing back and just kind of watching it in a neutral way and not lost in it, still aware. And the other way is to get lost in the television. Well, the problem is when our conscience is guilty, when we've hated people and resented them and been phony, and we have lost touch with what we knew in our heart and all of that, then what happens is we begin to want to escape not only into the imagination, but we want to escape into things, into food and marijuana and alcohol and music and everything, television. So everything begins to, we want to get lost in everything. But when you do, you lose power. It begins to control you. It begins to make you react and respond and so on and so forth. See, so it's good. So the process has to be reversed. And a simple way to reverse it. See, you can't, every little thing that upsets you and distracts you and gets in your food problems and your alcohol problems and your relationship problems and all of these things, you try to go out and solve each one of these individually, and your weight problem and your all kinds of health problems and your family problems and finance, see, and then you're out there, but then each one of them pulls you in. See, first it pulls you in to escape, and then when you get into it and you're separated from conscience, separated from intuition, separated from wisdom and understanding, see, and then you make mistakes, and then you try to solve the mistake, then you get pulled into it again to try to solve the mistake. You become entangled with it to try to solve things, so it just pulls you out into the world farther and farther away. So you have to make it all very simple, and with the intent. It just begins with the intent of wanting to come back to truth. Wanting to come back to the truth. And what is the truth? It's what you knew in your heart when you were a little child. To that deep, simple understanding. Okay? Coming back to that. And from it, then everything good will come. So that's the simple intent. And then you get the little meditation that I have, the free one. It's free. Learn to sit still and get out of your imagination. Remember, that's how you escape. In imagination and then into other things. So let's keep it very simple. You would like to come back to the truth now, to what you knew in your heart as a little child. And learn to sit quietly so you can get out of your imagination and get a little closer to that light in which you see the sweet, simple things that you saw when you were a little child. That's how it begins. Okay? My name is Roland.